Hello, everybody. Once again, it's continuing education, and I am Minister James Moss. We're here in the book of Acts, and we're moving on into chapter 8. If you missed the last one, I definitely say go back two videos and go through that experience. But we're moving on. Okay, this one is entitled Persecution Scatters the Believers. Okay, and we're going to cover verses 1 through 3. This should be fairly quick. So let's get to it. After the martyrdom of Stephen, the Jews stepped up their persecution of the followers of Christ. The man introduced as Saul proved to be a major leader in this widespread campaign of intolerance and terror. From a human perspective, this was a dreadful turn of events. From a divine perspective, it produced a far greater good. The Christians who had been in Jerusalem were now forced to migrate to the surrounding regions of Judea and Samaria. All right, so here we go, first 3 verses of chapter 8. And Saul was consenting unto his death, and at that time there was a great persecution against the church which was at Jerusalem. And they were all scattered abroad throughout the regions of Judea and Samaria, except the apostles. And devout men carried Stephen to his burial and made great lamentation over him. As for Saul, he made havoc of the church, entering into every house and hailing men and women, committed them to prison. All right. So here we go. All right, starting in verse 1. In the final words of Luke's record of Stephen's martyrdom, Saul was introduced subtly into the text as a young man in charge of keeping the coats of those who were stoning Stephen. The opening verse of this chapter adds the information about Saul's current attitude. He was not just there by accident or just passing by. He was one of the official witnesses at the killing of Stephen. Saul was a native of Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, and may have entered into the controversy with Stephen at the synagogue in Jerusalem where Stephen had been debating. Luke mentioned him only in passing here because recording the details of his conversion in chapter 9, Luke mentioned him only in passing here before recording the details of his conversion in chapter 9. When we get to chapter 13, Paul's ministry will be the entire focus of the book and the main instrument for the church's outreach to the Gentile world. Stephen's martyrdom was the impetus for an immediate increase of persecution against those who followed Christ. The persecution forced the Christians out of Jerusalem and into Judea and Samaria, thus fulfilling the second part of Jesus' command. Evidently, they had become somewhat comfortable sticking close to Jerusalem. All of that was instantly changed when with Stephen's death and the resultant persecution. Not every Christian left Jerusalem, for a church remained there for the balance of the New Testament era. Why the apostles stayed in Jerusalem instead of scattering with the others is a matter of speculation. Leadership of the Christian movement continued from the Jerusalem church for quite some time. Eventually, the major missionary center moved north to Antioch. Paul would regularly return to Jerusalem to report and to bring monetary support to the suffering Jerusalem saints from the Asian and European churches. Verses 2 and 3. What a contrast between this verse and the next one. Godly people came and buried Stephen with loud weeping, while Saul was going everywhere to devastate the church. Obviously, the loss of a person so important, respected, and needed in the church would be a huge blow. Evidently spurred on by the Jewish council's murder of Stephen, Saul zealously went on the attack. Saul passionately tried to protect the Jewish faith. He later described these activities thoroughly in his testimony before King Agrippa. Saul was dragging out both men and women and putting them in jail. Evidently, Saul had been given legal authority to carry out this order of persecution. All right, so this is kind of getting into the, just kind of touching on who Paul is or who he was, the degree of persecution against the church, how deep it went, and we pretty much completed this particular video. So I knew this one was going to be short, but nonetheless, it's still interesting how things ended with the the stoning of Stephen, and then just the fact that, okay, these people really are grieving the loss of a brother that was stoned, and you see on the other side of the table, oh, now's the opportunity to strike. All right, so look, go back, reread the scriptures, ask God for some revelation, ask God to just give you, hey, just give me an idea of what was happening here and why, what was the purpose. As you read the scriptures, you'll see how God's plan unfolds, even though it may not be according to the things that we think, oh, well, that could have happened instead, and God is God. Why didn't he just do this or that? No, God has his purpose. All right, until next time, God bless you, God keep you, and always remember to keep studying. All right, keep studying. God bless you.